friend, and welcome to the study, where today we're going to be looking at a book about the aircraft seen in the TinTin graphic novels. So to start, we'll be looking at this book, A Scale Modeler's Guide to Aircraft from the Adventures of Tintin. From the land of the Soviets to Tintin and the Picaros. So we'll be looking at that. And I've got a few of the graphic novels that we'll be referring to, as well as a few little airplanes, just for some variety and sounds. So this book has most of the aircraft you will see in our graphic novels, the stories, and it's listed by story. Tintin in the land of the Soviets, Tintin in the Congo, in America, and the cigars of the Pharaoh, the Blue Lotus, the Buccaneer, the Black Island. All of your favorite stories. The introduction tells a little bit about Hergé's drawings of airplanes and experience with aircraft. For a scale model builder and aircraft enthusiast, opening a comic book by Hergé is like rummaging in a treasure chest, because Hergé's first stories were written and published during the golden age of aviation. They bear witness to the diversity and beauty of early flying machines, as well as to the inventiveness of the pioneering manufacturers. As a perfectionist, Hergé even went the extra mile and updated most of his early albums during the 1940s, giving upgrade to most aircraft models along the way. And there is a photograph of a plane. You can see there. A Farman Jabiru on the Paris, Berlin, Amsterdam route. Hergé's first flight was on the same plane in 1930 on a trip to Paris. And there is a mosquito, and this is a model made by Andreas Weber with the committee markings from the Tintin album. First we have airplanes from the land of the Soviets, and these are from the black and white albums, serialized between 1929 and 1930, and the album published in 1930. Unidentified German Polizei monoplane and an unidentified Soviet fighter. This low-wing monoplane fighter is stolen by Tintin as he makes his escape from Russia, eventually making his way to Berlin. And here, our modeling book tells us that the drawing has been based in part on the Polikarpov IL-400, with modifications to the tail, nose, exhausts, and undercarriage, but bears an uncanny resemblance to early Junkers fighters, such as the A-20. Now we have some planes from Tintin in the Congo, from the black and white two-seater fighter. A pair of unmarked Arab fighters, which are clearly Hawker Hart derivatives, shoot Tintin and Snowy down in their stolen Farman F-231. And that's on the black and white album pages. We get quite a few Hawkers in Tintin books. Now we do have a de Havilland Pussmoth and another Hawker, a two-seater fighter. These are from the Colour album, The Cigars of the Pharaoh. So we're going to be looking at chains of aircraft from Second World War era. James publishes books that catalogue the world's aircraft and sea vessels and vehicles. The best catalogues in the world. Some of the pages here. There. A few Hawkers. There's the Tempest, Hawker Fury, Hawker single-seat fighter, and Typhoon. The Hawker Company produced during the war a distinguished line of single-seater fighters, as did their Sopwith ancestors during the Great War. The one we have in Tintin is our two-seater biplane fighter, which will not be in my World War II book. Looks like another one was used in the Blue Lotus. This one is from the black and white album that was published in 1936. The color album was published 10 years later. Let's see if we can find it. The Blue Lotus. So the Blue Lotus is the second part of Cigars of the Pharaoh, in which Tintin uncovers a drug cartel and the search for the bad guys takes him to Japan, to China, where the Japanese have occupied or are about to occupy China. And they find the madness potion or the Raijaja juice. And it's the first story where he meets Chang. There's some Japanese tanks, and you can see some biplanes there. That is probably our elusive Hawker. And I think that's all I'm going to find of it at the moment. And that's from Le Lotus Bleu, or the Blue Lotus. Moving on. Here we have a very interesting one, the Loiret et Olivier, or Leo H242. Very interesting airplane, also very rarely seen. Was in civil service in France in the 1920s and 1930s. It's one of a number of flying boats that we see in TinTin's stories and features quite frequently. It has 4 engines, 2 forward and 2 rear, so 2 pushing and 2 pulling. These ones are used in Tintin and the Broken Ear, where he goes down to South America. And here we have a triple rotary engine, V-Bolpenley, with a Air France logo there, and the Junkers. And here it is from the color album, where Hergé has depicted the colors of black on red instead of blue on white. And there's again our Loiret et Livier. There's another Heinkel. We'll get lots of Heinkels from the Black Island where Tintin goes to Scotland. There's our Heinkel HE70, a German one. Let's see what we can find out about that. HE70. But here we have only later models for some reason. And then going to Junkers and Hortons. Trainer. There's the Avra Trainer. A very sturdy little plane that was used as a trainer after the Great War, the First World War. Now, I don't have a little Avra here, and it's not going to be in my chains that I've brought here, but I do have a similar trainer that was used by the United States, the Stearman. Little biplane and rotary engine. And now we get an Italian one, the Savoia Marchetti, another 3-engine airplane. A familiar sight in Tintin's adventures, and this airliner with the Belgian registration 00HEY was used in the black and white album of the Black Island. Those of you who are fans of Studio Ghibli and Porco Rosso will recognize the company name Savoia. Ghibli, Studio Ghibli, or rather Miyazaki, made Porco's airplane with the Savoia company, although it's a plane that doesn't exist. If you would like me to do a video on the planes in Porco Rosso, please let me know in the comments. Let's have a look at the Savoia in chains. Machete Company built a large number of commercial and military aircraft, both land planes and seaplanes. The military products of this concern were mainly conversions of its three-engined airlines, the SM-79 and SM-82, being the types most used by the Regia Aeronautica during the war. And it looks like the only photographs we have of that are these. The SM-72 was a development of the SM-75, from which it differed by having a deeper fuselage, greater loaded weight, redesigned fin and rudder, and the addition of a hydraulically operated retractable gun turret. The deep fuselage was provided with overhead runway and block and tackle for the loading and movement of heavy freight. So certainly a plane that captured Hergé's imagination. And there's a Savoy Machete 73. Also had a Percival Prentice. Muller and his accomplice get a comfortable upgrade in the redrawn 1966 album, a pale cream and mid-blue Cessna. And there is our de Havilland Chipmunk, a bit more modern for the color album. Thompson commandeer the de Havilland Tiger Moth and the Percival Prentice in green. The Hawker Siddeley HS-121 Trident. Tintin completes his adventures in England when he departs on this BEA Trident. British European Airways and the British Overseas Airways Corporation combined in 1974 to form British Airways. This Trident is finished in the classic 1960s BEA livery of black, white, and natural metal. No civil registrations are visible in drawings in the album. In King Ottokar's Scepter, Tintin goes into a fictional Eastern European country where Snowy rescues the monarchy by finding the scepter of King Ottokar. Here we have a Stinson Reliant, and again another Savoy Machete. More Heinkel's. And these ones designed there. It has the Bordurian symbol on it. More Laurier-Olivier, Savoy Machete, and Stinson Reliant. And the introduction of a Messerschmitt 109, one of the famous ones used by the German Air Force. In the 1947 edition of King Ottokar's Scepter, Tintin makes his escape from Borduria on Bordurian Air Force Messerschmitt instead of Heinkel. The Messerschmitt was a very advanced piece of machinery for its time. And now we have the crab with the golden claws. With the Palenka Pacemaker, another of the for the meteorite that fell in the Arctic. And the FERS on the side stands for the Fonds Européen de Recherche Scientifique. Then we come to another flying boat. This one, the short Sunderland, in the 7 crystal balls. The second one where Tintin goes to South America. Let's have a look for Sunderland in chains. There you can see the short Sunderland civil transport flying boat with 4 Bristol Pegasus engines. And I hope I can show you one in the water. It's going to be sideways. That's as much as I can get this huge book around the camera boom. The Sunderland flying boat and the one in the water. Alright, more Tintin. A Supermarine Spitfire. And now we start seeing some Douglas. A Douglas DC-6 in Destination Moon. When Calculus has finally got his hearing aids and has a team that sends Tintin and the captain to the moon. Convair CV-240 in the Calculus affair, so we're getting even more modern, and we even have a Bell helicopter and a Beechcraft Bonanza. And then in the Red Sea Sharks we get our Douglas DC3 Dakota, and I do have something not entirely unlike a little toy DC3. This one's by Matchbox, so we've got the same. Don't look at the Convair, look at the Dakota one. It's got a very similar fuselage there, and the tail, 2 propellers, and it makes some nice noise, little sounds for you. It's our little DC3, beautiful little plane. I think we have those a couple times in Tintin. Let's see if we can find that in chains. Very useful little plane. And there we have our Douglas DC3 commercial airliner. So the Douglas DC3 was a low-wing cantilever monoplane with a rectangular section and tapering of the outer sections with detachable wing tips. And there it is again. Tintin. The Red Sea Sharks. We also have a de Havilland Mosquito that the Committee Air Force was using in the Red Sea Sharks. It's piloted by Colonel Ahmed, who mistakenly destroys 2 Committee armored cars instead of the intended target of Tintin and Captain Haddock. There's the Mosquito there. And we have another Douglas Dakota DC3. And now a couple of really interesting ones. This is the Curtiss Seahawk. The Curtiss SC-1 Seahawk, one of a pair from the USS Los Angeles. So it is a battleship-based airplane. They used to be shark upon the liberated slave ship Ramona. And the Red Sea Sharks. I don't have that Tintin album, unfortunately, but it's one I want to get. Let's see if we can find the Curtis Seahawk. Yes, we can, and there it is. So it says that the development of the Seahawk began in June 1942, when the U.S. Navy Bureau of Aeronautics invited the Curtis Company to submit proposals for an improved Scout Seaplane. And there we have our Curtis Seahawk to replace the Kingfisher and Seamew. Was the first reported in action with U.S. fleet in the pre-invasion bombardment of Borneo in June 1945. Next, I'm going to show you the Constellation. Tintin and Captain Haddock arrive in New Delhi aboard the Lockheed Constellation when they're looking for Chang, the young boy they met in the story of the Blue Lotus. And Chang's airplane, the Dc3 Dakota, went missing in the Himalayas in Tibet, and Captain Haddock and Tintin take the Constellation to go and find him. Let's find where we can see this. There's Tintin in Tibet, or Tintin au Tibet, and Tintin and Haddock and their guide, and of course Snowy next to the rock, and they're following the tracks of the snow monster. This is where Tintin and Haddock hear about Chang's disappearance while they're on holiday. And they resolve to go find him. And here we see just a little bit of the constellation that they fly. So it takes them 2 days to get to Tibet, and that's the only part of the plane we see. There's the Air India, and again we don't see much of this one either. The Dc3 Dakota. The Constellation, as you can see, has triple tail, which I'm going to show you. In chains. There. There's our Lockheed Constellation. So that's a very unique tail and 4 engines. It's a 4-engine transport monoplane that was originally designed to the requirements of the Transcontinental and Western Air Incorporated during its deployment, and after consultation with Transworld Airlines, Pan American Airways also ordered a number of Constellations. But on the entry of the United States into the war, both companies waived their rights in favor of the Army Air Forces, and production was devoted solely to the C-69 military transport version. And there you see it in its military livery. And I will try to show you the commercial airliner 707. And that's Flight 714 to Sydney. I've got in English. We don't get this crazy jet in our modelling book for some reason, but we do see Flight 714 from Jakarta to Sydney in Qantas livery, the Queensland and Northern Territory Air Service of Australia. But I will show you, we get some really good views of this jet. Just a shame it's not in our modelling book. And we have some more Boeings as we get more modern. And of course, the interesting one, the Machi. Now this is an Italian seaplane. Looks almost like a racing plane, and I do have a model of it here with this double propeller inline, two floats, and a very, very sleek fuselage. It's worth having a look. This one was from one of the Tintin magazines, which I don't have, but let's have a look in the chains. There we are. There's our Savoia machete. It is there. The Savoia machete. And there is our Jake that we just saw. Japanese Zero. It was on a different page. Sorry about the confusion. And I am looking for a match. We don't have the C version. Here's our Manchi single-seat fighter, wearing the colours of the Italian co-belligerent Air Force. But what we have here is a really nice-looking seaplane. We can't find any chains, unfortunately. We have some more ankles and some more layers with the 4 engines. And you can hear a jet going over at the moment, joining in the fun because it's a beautiful day. More Stinsons. One. Very. You can see how Hergé changed a lot of the roundels. Ferry battle again. Nice sleek aircraft there. And we finish with some beautifully colored Douglas Dc3 Dakotas. So I hope that you have found this little video relaxing, interesting, and enjoyable. And I wish you a very beautiful day, evening, night, wherever you are, whenever you are. Be good to yourself. Be kind to others. And most of all,